Hi team, welcome back everyone. Day 4 for our Python training. So we've kind of went through first few days very quickly. We're still in the basic programming, so let's get an understanding of how this is working. All right? Can everyone hear me? Audio, visual, good? So what did we do? Quick recap from day 1. Day 1, I think we focused more in terms of understanding a project, and that project is critical for us to stick with so we know how to complete something. All right. Now, the day 2 was where we went about, I believe, both installing uh, Python and also getting with the Python IDE. So we were using PyCharm as a chosen IDE. There are a lot of IDEs team in the market, integrated development environment. You could also use it PyDev and so on Eclipse. We thought it's great to have more skills on your resume just than one IDE. So let's explore more. The concept fundamentally is going to be the same. So we went about writing some of the first codes there. So let's see the code, what we wrote. My first test.py could be something that we would have started where we said I could do simple print statements. If you notice, there's no semicolons and all that. I have an else condition, which when true does a certain things, when false does certain other things. Tabs become very important things within Python. So we've replaced the curl brackets or blocks that we had. This way, the number of lines, the programmable lines are counted correctly as well. So to try and eliminate more junk code that is unnecessary. So that was a leap if you look at from Java or C# and so on, how they've tried to put this further. Next, second code, what did we do? We spoke about, okay, we continued with if statement and we started working with variables team. Variables are simple holders of information in anything that is on the lines of information technology is all about data team content. Data can be text, it can be numbers, alphanumeric, images, video, content, audio, all of this is the information that is flowing. So where do you store it if you want to be able to pass it? And where do you build these things? So that starts with the simplest thing called variables. And we are able to print these. And the reason we used a converter here called string, which is so simple, I don't have to use, a longer message like convert to string to type this, just a string of A. Now, as a definition, A is automatically taken as an integer. We will see a lot of debugging where we keep going forward, how to debug this code, maybe put a breakpoint here. So how we can understand in terms of these numbers and what is it that they do in a simple manner, we did in the second one. What did we do in the third one? Looks like this is the third code. A is 100, B is 200. Hash did not declare. So this basically a comment. When we are giving a single line comment, I'm just giving a hash. C equals A plus B, we're just adding, and hash fixed, this part again becomes a comment. Comment non-executed, nothing to do with it. So that was, I think, a little bit on day 3. Yeah, that's what we did. And then let's see fourth code, a little bit of math operations that we worked on. So we did what? Multiply. So you take a few numbers. Okay, let's see from the beginning. A is 10. And then I have a group comment line. So if I have multi-line to be commented, 3 single quotes, 3 single quotes. Between that, everything is done. You can't see the code team. Haven't you been able to see the code so far? I've been showing the code. Uh, Everyone could see the code, right, on PyCharm? Why do I get a message from one or two that they couldn't see? I'm hoping the screen is all fine for all. So Swati, just letting you know, everyone was able to see so far, almost 10 minutes into it, right? So please keep a check on your end. Worst case, there's a recording also. All right, let's continue. So B is 20.5. And we're talking about numbers with decimals, and that is becoming our float. So this is an integer. Int, basically what? Positive, negative numbers. Yeah, there we go. No decimal points in it. Float has decimals. And then we have a complex number, which is a large scientific numbers that we typically don't get to use too much, but it is there available just in case. And we have the other function or method that we're performing called type. So all of these are inbuilt methods, team. So we've been exposing ourselves to simple methods. Where is my 4? Okay. Simple methods like string, type. What else did we do? I think that's about it, what we did so far on that. Let's look at the fifth code, strings. And what we are doing with strings, let's start at the beginning, team, so we have a clarity. So, like we were saying, 1 second, everyone. Sorry, I'm back. All right, sorry, team. So let's look at this, team. Very important. Comment Gmail contact variable. So we were looking at these 3 sheets and we said my contact here is first name A, last name so and so, I first name, I number. So look at the naming convention, team. Very simple. I've seen people who jump these. Do not. In the next 2 to 3 sessions, we will start writing more complex Python programs. But if we don't pay attention here, we will lose a lot as we keep going. So please do focus on that. So look at the naming. We've used simple camel click case. So as soon as I see it, I know, or any other developer or looking at the code will know it. That okay, this is first name of Gmail last name, Gmail, iPhone first name, iPhone number. So this is hard coded data. So we will talk about, let's save this as sixth code, strings, and maybe lists or arrays. We'll talk about both, one after the other. Okay, where were we? Here. Hard coding of data is basically is uh, inputted is inputted right word, input done at a code level, not coming from outside. So it's almost like a constant, and things of hard coding and why we should not do is something we will talk about, team. But basically variables are your simplest data holders. Okay, so they hold data for you. That is what we're trying to say. Now, so print type of first name, print type of I number. So at this point, when we execute, there's a lot of logic. What if I want to only execute till line 13, team? What can I do? What if I put all of these as comments? From here, cut it, take it all the way down and put this here. So see, it's automatically become green because, but this, what happened here? So comment within comment was not working. So I have to delete this then. Okay. I want to run one bit at a time, team. So again, with not doing it in a very, very hasty manner. So input, and we're getting to the output later, but let's look at these types. So right click and we will do a run. Right now, all my files are in this folder, team. I will bring them on to our folder. Okay. So the first one is string. The second one is integer. All right. Now it is integer only because we gave it as a number. If the same thing I give it within quotes, what happens? And I execute it. They're now both strings. So even if you give a number inside, it becomes a string team, as long as there are double quotes. Why would I want to give? Let's say I want to give a number 8275272, and this is an acceptable format. But from this, let's see what happens. In fact, print number also will say. So type will say the type of that variable called iNumber. Print iNumber should print the value itself. So Control Shift F10. So it says minus 5785. Why did it do that? Because it's got all of this as numbers and it has taken it as a calculation. So anytime we're going to be cautious about putting them into the right thing. When you want a number for a mathematical calculation, you do that. Till then, you just stay with string team. Everyone with me on that? So we're just putting it. We'll play around with numbers later. For now, they're all strings. So great. Now, what are we trying to do? I want to merge. So we have 5 contacts, but let me start with one first, get the logic, then I can think about the 5 contacts. So the logic was very simple. Do you all remember, right, that we wrote this code? Yes. So if you don't, let's go through it once again. I'm going to uncomment this. Now I have my output. That is, all contacts will come here. In that, I have these 4 columns. For now, I will say nothing in each of them. Okay. There's nothing, just a hyphen into it. So it's almost like a blank. Now, what is my logic? If my first name matches, then I'll start putting it in this order. First name is G first name, last name is G last name. Email is here, number is here. And this new record is not added, but kind of, yeah, created. We didn't add it anywhere, but we created it. Else what happens? Names don't match, action pending. What we want to do when the names don't match. Okay. This is going to be tricky. Why did I take a hard example to begin with for all of us? In fact, I'm thinking of the logic more than anything. But for me, even if it's a complex logic, my approach is, let me break it down into something digestible one at a time. So if else, there's also elif, but I don't have an else if right now. I don't need it. So Control Shift F10. Let's run this again. String number comes as is, names matched, that is good. Starting to merge, new record created, Nita A, N dot A, NER 314827572. So this becomes a record. Now, I told you, remember the story about where this data is? All that we are doing, right, is created on timeline. Let's say T0 is here, and at the end is Tn, the last time of it. All right. So if you created anything here, they're born here. And at the end of it, they all die. So what I mean to say, whatever effort you put is not being added or stored anywhere. It is still left. Then why is it that we are building all this? If I'm not putting it there, then why is it? That's correct. We are building a logic, trying it first on few records and seeing how does it happen. And step by step, go to building it into a more organized thing. Get it? And we're not trying to store the information here. Then we'll get into a stage where maybe we'll read it from Excel and put it back into that Excel. All right. If the first name matches, then merge data. Ding, 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 ding. This is done. So this is done, team. Now, I don't have one name. I have groups of names. Then what is it that I can do? What are my options when I'm working with groups of name? Now, there are 2 things that we can work with when you want to work with group of related variables. We use something like this. Let me talk about the concept first and then this. So my Gmail contacts, okay, will always have things like I have the first name here, the last name here, the email here. In my iPhone contacts, I have first name and a phone, right? Now I may have 10 records here. I may have 20 records here. Okay. So in here, I can store it in a very easy fashion as a test data in an Excel sheet. And my all contacts will look in a second. Nothing is filled here, but once it is done, it will look something like merged together. So just by the base look of it, we know that all this is there as a structure. So when we want to keep working with them, I know that they are related to each other in a certain manner. Okay, we will try both lists and arrays team for this example and see how this works. Let's start with talking about what a list can do within Python and put it together. Lists. And within lists, there are like tuple and a few other things team. So I'm not worried about it. It's just what it contains in it. And then we'll talk about arrays. The concept is very simple team that I always take when I talk about single variables and an array is this. All right. For me, when I speak about a variable, it just has one value into it, correct? And consider that as a PO box or your home address. Now, if you're living in a, let's say, a community where there are row houses, then the entire lane will have a specific address XYZ, and then maybe your unit numbers will change from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So all that we're doing is changing this unit numbers. So instead of defining 7 variables independently from V1 to V7, we'll create something called as a collection of these variables and we group them together. The simplest way that we can get started is would be with a new example and right click new Python file and list 7th code. I'm sorry, list. All right. The easiest one is, let's say I have a list of books. Okay. And if I say my books has what do I put? I am just looking at the books I have. There's a book by Rackham. I actually have, you won't believe it, but I have a book from Trump that I purchased about 10, 15 years back. I was a big follower of him in terms of the entrepreneurship side. Then there's Shiv Kishan. I'm just taking few authors' team that I'm seeing in my bookshelf. All right. So this is basically a collection of my books that I have. All right. Right now, I have 3. Maybe I'll add 4th and a 5th one. Okay. Oh, you have 2 about Trump. I have this Trump's Think Big and Kick Ass. I read, I think, almost 3/4 of it. Very energetic. At that time, the way he wrote Donald Trump. So now I'm saying instead of creating my book 1 equals Rackham and so on, I'm creating all of this under one thing. But for it to be recognized as a list, I just put it in square brackets team to begin with and to end with. In fact, square brackets also I think are optional. Let me see. So my books, and I say my books 1. The whole Python adventure has been to try and reduce the effort in amount of lines of code or characters that we have typed in. So I can now get to know what are in my books, but I get to know only based on the position. Is it the first, second, third, or fourth? So if I say my books in this case and open square brackets and say 0 and then 1 and 2 and 2, and I'm going to do the same here. Oopsie. My books 1, 1, and 1. All right. And Control Shift F10. There you go. So I've got all of them, team. See, even the square brackets are kind of optional. That's where I'm saying the flexibility within what we have is great. So in this, I could go to specific ones and know which is based on the order, team. Order becomes very important. Is it the first one? Is it the second one? Is it the third one? I could now change certain things into it. Things like, let's say, my books. And I'm going to open the second book equals, I'm just seeing for the author names, they're not visible. Nair. That was Vineet Nair from HCL. And if I print my books too, you can, there you go. So your whole array itself now gets changed. So any element within that array, you are able to specifically edit. Control Shift F10 again, and this becomes Rackham, Trump, Nair. Cause now Shivkishan has been replaced in that order out there. If I want to print everything in a list that I need to that I see. So right now I have only 3 of them, right? But if I have extended and I need to print all the items in a list, what is it that I do? So to print all list items, I always tend to forget the syntax, though it's very simple. For any variable, let's say I within or in that specific my books array, and like the if statement, I'm giving a colon here, and then I'm going to say print if I say I, what will it do, team? And this I'll also put here print. What did I do wrong? Oh, double quote is missing. So anytime that you're looking at, team, and let's talk about these two syntax types or errors also, team. Errors, programming errors. One is syntax error. The other is your runtime / execution error. Okay, I'm just writing it and I'll explain it in a second. But let's print this. What will it print, team? Can you all now tell me what will it print? One of the important things for a programmer, come on. I said Swati, the first if you understand list, then we'll talk about arrays. Then you'll understand the difference between both. Otherwise, it's theoretical. So wait for 2 more sessions, you'll understand, please. A programmer needs to I totally forgot my thought. Yep. Run the program execution in mind before um, executing on the system, on the machine. Why? Because it is all your code, team. It is all your instruction. If you did this program, A, B, C, D, anyone does this program, it'll do the same thing. Python won't do because you did it or I did it. It'll look at this code. All right. So what comes out is something that you can try and execute in your mind before the machine does. So right here, we've already done this. So we know there's nothing where we have to think about again. The only logic is here. I'm going to watch from here. Why did I put line number 22? As I kept going through here, I'm unable to divide these. And it's, it's not easy for us to segregate information. So what I'll do is I'll put one here and then one here and then maybe one here. All right. And then we have two here. Now let's run team. At this point, what do you think print I should do? Let's run it. Now print I can print that variable, or will it print the values in my books? Will now. See, it prints all the list items. So now if I have a large list, like X list equals nothing, I'll say 1, 2, 345, whatever I want. All right. And now instead of printing each of them, I can just say different variable for J in X list. And I give this in and say print J. All right. And it is now going to print everything. And before that, maybe I can say print. So to print all list items, right? If I put a print statement here and say print, I'm sorry. Ting, 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 ting. Okay. A little bit effort towards making sure it looks good. So see, now if I say this, it is within that for loop. A for is a loop that keeps going repeatedly till it has accomplished that specific list team. If I want to do something where I want to loop through a certain number of things, okay, then I can do something else. I can say a variable ijk, k equals 0. And then while k is less than 3 in this case, I will say print my list k, and this should be able to print that. And maybe I can also say string of k, that variable, plus is space plus this. Now look at the statement team. Very important when we are concatenating. It is all about how you want the print to be done. Okay. Now, there are three variables that we created out here: I, J, and K. Okay. I is automatically created as part of the for. It starts with 0 and goes iterating within it, within that specific list. While on the other case, will basically go through whatever you want. You can say k is less than 300 also, but our list is not that big. So I will just run this as is, and we'll see with exit code 1. See hash printing items in list. After that, it didn't do anything. Is there an issue here? So if I caused an issue team and I want to debug and I found out, so I will put an comment that part of the code and I'll see it is printed till there. while k is less than 3. Oh, I'm not giving k plus plus. I have to do that too. Because then it is an infinite loop. And it is X list. You're right. Thank you, team, for identifying. There are two problems, team. Okay, understand this and listen to what I'm saying. Very critical. Small issues that programmers, this is what will take you to the next step. K starts with 0, correct? We come to line number 36. Is K less than 0? 0 is less than 3, true? Yes, then it will print this. In here, I was supposed to say X list, not my list, because that is the name here. All right. Now, okay, it'll print it. Then it'll go back. What is the value of K? Still 0. And if I run it, it is still the same. So this condition will never fail. Do you see that, team? Let's try and run it. And what will happen is it will go into an infinite loop. Before that, let's talk about syntax error, runtime error. Syntax error is Python does not understand what you wrote. So you need to figure it out at the code level itself. So if I write here something that is absurd for Python, let's say like this, or hi, how are you? It does not understand this. So it'll say, I can't even understand this code. How do you expect me to execute it? So that is a issue. Number one, it's called syntax error. So IDE is assist and help in solutions for it. So you can easily fix it before running the file, running the program. So you're not even able to do a proper run with it. Correct, and hence it is a syntax error. There's something wrong in the code you have to look at. Runtime execution or error is something wrong with the logic. The logic that we wrote has gone for a toss, and an error happened during execution, and it will stop and terminate at that point. So these are the two errors, team, that you need to be careful. So while you do an accurate program, you want to make sure that syntax errors, there is no way but you have to fix it, and any runtime errors. Now the problem is runtime errors sometimes, I'm sorry, if they come during your coding, you can easily fix before deploying. All right. So, okay, this works fine now. I saw some runtime errors, it's fixed. And now let us say you're developing an application, could be a gaming application or anything. And let's say Fruit Ninja. And if that application while you're playing crashes, what happens? A bunch of log information or something can be sent, and the developer will then see post deployment of a product or a project. Basically, a product is what gets deployed. Um, you have to redo, relook at it. And it makes you feel ugly, right? It's crashed because then how could you not be able to figure that out at that point becomes important. Anyway, let's go back. So in the logic that we did, what is wrong? This is a syntax error. I'm going to delete it. It's something Python can't recognize. 1 second. Sorry. Yeah, so the logic is the value of k has to increase each time. So once I've printed this out, and before I go back into the next iteration, I want to say k is k plus 1. Once I've put this information, then I know the value of k will be changing. All right, team? Ting, 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 ting. Okay, so this is done, and we're going to print. So let's get this block for us. I also want to do an execution without incrementing k. Okay, let's see what happens with that. Finished code with exit code 1. Why does it say the same thing again? Where did it run till? Process finished. It's printing, right? No? How do I know if it's printing items in list? Items in list, printing items in list. This is not printing this. One is, there's nothing wrong here. X list. Ah, anyone found why? Anyone? Line 37. K0 is fine. So it's definition, initialization, everything is done. Line 39 gave just K, string of K, string of K, maybe string of K, but here, see, anytime we were printing a value of a list, we're using square brackets, correct? And here I put a round brackets. Let's see if this changes things for us. And rerun. See, because I know the error is only in this part of the code, so I'm not looking at anything beyond. And still I'm getting it. Why? Let's do a simple while statement first, okay? So before this, what is wrong? We'll see. L, another variable. Okay, oopsie. It's not terminated. What did I do? It's doing something totally. Print is also there. Yeah, no. See, when I'm facing an issue, I just want to figure what next. How do we do it? It's not letting me seventh code list. Let me close all of them first. Or I don't know, something is stuck. Give me a second, team. Seventh code list. Oh, I typed str, is it? Let me change. It is not opening. Let me restart PyCharm once, team. It's hung. See, it's going to something in my system and not there. Windows, PyCharm, JetBrains, PyCharm. Should open up pretty quick. And looks like how come it did an execution if I wrote srtn? Okay. Seventh code. Open up. PyCharm, check the following directories. Windows Defender. It's not opening my seventh code.py. It's saying it's here. What is wrong? Show in Explorer. Scripts. No, see, even in my Windows Explorer, it's taking time to open everything. So there is 7th code list here. Why Canopy? I should have opened with Notepad. Simple Notepad. Okay. So this is the code, and here yes, see, I wrote SRTK. That is right. Should have been STR. Oopsie. Print STRK. And if I would want to do something just like a simple while, I was saying before this, I could say L equals 1 while L is less than 10, print L, all lowercase team, and let's put it there. So I'm saving it here. Okay, I'm not going to do a command prompt run. Okay, now let's go back here and let me see if it can open up. I don't even know why. So let's say third code, which is not there. It's opening up. 7th code now is opened up. There you go. Thank you. And I've changed it manually here and the same reflected there. Okay. So we are only interested in this part of things. So I'm going to comment the earlier code team. Starting from the beginning. Canopy I don't need right now. Thank you. So all this commented, only one list and printing items, then 1 to 9. Oh, same mistake again. See, L, I can also give plus equals 1. See, L and 1 almost look the same. Then we have K. Okay, I'm going to save this as 8th code while. Once we get this basic small ones team, we can put them into execution easily. Logic will be easy. Control Shift F10. So 2 mistakes I did. One was I first I named this wrong, then this was wrong. I didn't give the right square brackets, and I didn't even give an increment, and hence it failed. But this time, at least it's printed everything from 1 to 9, and 0 is 1, 1 is 2, 2 is 345. What if I want to print the first item is so and so? Then I'll just say K plus 1 and do a Control Shift F10. Okay, so first item is so and so. So that kind of basically puts things into perspective of what a while loop can do and list can do, team. List is doing nothing but storing your data into the right format, and then you're able to go and read through it, either using a for loop, or I can also use a while loop over it. Okay, now what we are doing in this case is we have our project, right? Where was it? 6th code. Okay, here we need this. Control A, Control C. I'm going to take a new one. Let's start here. Scripts new Python file. This is going to be my smaller codes, 9th code project. So this is the base. I have still hard coded data. Everything is here sitting in the code nicely. And I've done this manually and it is fine. Okay. Now the same things I could start using them as lists. How do I use lists for this team? So I would say I would have different Gmail contacts, right? So instead of putting them like this, I would just say, let's say my G1 equals square brackets. Okay, I don't need square brackets. Control C, comma. This copy paste jobs take a lot of time. and you have to be patient. See, like I was trying to write the code fast in the while and made 3 mistakes in 3 lines. So this is G1, and then I have another G2, then I have another G3, and each data could be different team. Okay, so I'll just put for now Nita 1, 2, and 3, and I could loop through them individually for saying like for I, um, where was that? Let me use that quickly for reference. For Jane X list. Ting, 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 and print J is doing it. See, print J is doing it directly. So I would prefer to use a while loop. That way I can point to it. I would know nicely. So I would use a, oopsie. So I have to have a variable I equals 0. All right. And then while I, oh no, the 3 columns, right? Yeah, that's fine. So if I is less than 3, I could print G1 0, okay, and followed by, let's do like this. Oopsie, 3 bars, G1 0, and then 3 bars. I should copy the whole thing. Okay, so now what is this doing, team? So G1, the first field from G1, first field from G2, first field from G3 is being printed, so that we know that the 3 columns, 4 records and 3 columns. I will create a G4 also. All right, stay with me, team. We're kind of building it together. Then the logic will come out nicely. I plus 1. Okay, I'll just quickly take that question. Where was that? While. So this is nothing but can be used, alternate to say L equals L plus 1. And this reason for this is to save characters in the code. So we say L plus 1 equals 1. So if you increment it by 2, then you change this to 2 or 3. All right. Ninth code. Now, what is it that we're doing? We're printing first name. So I'll just say print all first names. Okay, and I don't want to print anything beyond here. So this code will remain static for now. I just have, this is kind of useless as well. G1, G2, G3, G4, while I is less than 3, because what am I doing here? First of all, what is it that I did? Not in the right frame of programming, team, sorry. This becomes string. How can it make it a string? So we have to keep concatenating them. Only these have to be like this, okay? C, Control V, and then another Control V plus. Okay, let me see what I'm saying. I'm not printing the first names first time. So while I is less than 4, G1 I. I'll explain the logic, team, briefly. Sorry, I'm taking a little longer today's session, but we are programming, so sometimes it does take time. Let's think about this team for a second before we run it in our mind and what we're trying to do. So G1, G2, G3, G4 are 4 lists that we created. Now, each of this has different data, unique or whatever, doesn't matter, but at least the first names are different. I have a variable I is 0. I have a while loop where saying I is less than 3. So definitely I has to increment. So I'll say I plus equals 1. Okay, so this is incrementing I by 1. So the first time it's going to print G1 of 0. What will that be? The first names, then second, this last names, and then email. So what am I missing? I am in principle missing one more print. See, plus G4 of I. Everyone understood this print statement? Why do I use these 3 vertical bars? Just spaces, so it is easy for us to see. And we're saying first array in the first 0th element, then second array 0th element, third array or list, sorry, and the same for the G4. Now when I say I plus equals 1 and do a run, I'm expecting 3 print statements, first names all, last names, and this. Let's see. So first names, last names, and this. Now the logic is coming into our shape team. Now the same I could give for the iPhone contacts variables. Okay, so this was the earliest structure of it, and now I don't need this, right, team? That's done. This is how it is, but I would need the format. So I'll say Gmail contact. I'll say this is first name, last name, email. And iPhone contacts, I have first name and phone. And here I'll say I1, I2, let's put only 2 records, no? Or 3 records, I3. Now see, for me, it's almost like copying. So let me copy it this way and put it. Names are changing. Team, what I'm doing is not irrelevant or something that this is exactly what you need to do as programming. So very critical that you focused on this team. So here I'll say this neat, like let's say 3, 2, and then 5. So there are 2 matching and 1 not matching. And I just have one more value here, and that's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, and 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is my next one. So to print to see what data I have put, I'm going to use the simple Y. Again, I can use I, but let's use a different variable K. Actually, I can use I. I'll leave it with I team. Again, I'm saying I0, G1, now I1, I1, I2. Columns are only 3, so I is less than 2. The 3 records till I3. And then I wouldn't have anything beyond that. So 3 records, 2 loops, one for the first name, next for the numbers. So let's run this. So I've got data for Nita, and these are the other details, the other ones, and these are the details. Perfect. Now comes the logic team. How do we put it into a new list where all this is going in? Are you all with me? So we have that logic built in with a simple if statement. If this is equal to this, if this is equal to this. What I need to do is basically take the first name, go through everything here, see if it matches. See if it matches, get that phone number corresponding and put it into a new record. New record will have the first name, last name and email here and so on. So that logic, let's build tomorrow, team. All right, everyone. Any questions for me so far? We're getting a little bit more deeper into programming, as you've noticed, and with the same logics, with the same approach, we'll kind of progress slowly. Another 2-3 sessions, you'll have a little comfort on this as a programming language, and we can apply that into a lot of projects. Any questions, team, for me? And thank you so much. You've been very, very proactive and interacting in this session, especially when I was having these issues. You were able to point out and say, hey, here's where the issue is. So that's good. Thanks, everyone. Bye then. Bye all. Take care.